You've tuned into Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes. Your access to success strategies and more to help you move onward and upward with your life. Listen in each week as she interviews others who have really taken their essence to the next level and truly unpaused their life. Now here's your host, Dr. Callie Estes.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Dr. Callie Estes, and I am founder of the Addictions Academy, the Addictions Coach, and Rehab Rescue. Welcome to Unpause Your Life. This is a great podcast where we showcase people who have done something extraordinary with their life. I welcome you, and I hope you enjoy all of our guests.
On my way, found a reason to wake up another day.
You are listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes, the Addictions Coach and the Addictions Academy. My guests today are going to be fun, I hope. We have Brian Drolet, originally from Queens, New York. He started his acting career in New York theaters, as well as several MTV shows where he met Jordan Eubanks, who was originally from North Carolina. The two became best friends and went on to star on season 1 of MTV's The Hills, as well as starting to produce independent films together. That's how they met Chris Livingston, an NYU Graduate Film School alumni, while making the indie film Dumbbells, a comedy about a gym staff. Currently, they have a project called Be Like Trees. Welcome. How are you guys today?
We're good. Thank you. We're good. Thanks for having us.
So I'm, of course, going to already go off script that Dana sent me and start off with, how does somebody from North Carolina become best friends with somebody in New York? That's rough.
Go ahead, Brian.
Jordan, you want to take that one?
No, you like to tell the big hat story, so you can go ahead and tell the big hat story.
Well, Jordan and I, we actually had the same talent agency in New York, and one day that's why he moved up from North Carolina to pursue his dreams of pursuing an acting career, and I had just moved back to New York, which is where I'm from, after graduating from the University of Florida. And one day we both found ourselves in the same audition room for an MTV show called Damage Control. And true story, I, being a complete rookie and newbie, I had the book Breaking into Acting for Dummies. and this book, it specifically said, do not wear silly props like hats and things like that to an audition. And I see this guy in the audition room with this big goofy hat on. It was Jordan, and him and his buddy were saying, "Oh, this will make us stand out." And I said, "Well, guys, according to rule number 3 on page 14 of Breaking into Acting for Dummies, it clearly states do not use silly props or hats." And I told them not to wear the hat. Make a long story short, me and Jordan both ended up actually getting the job, and we got cast on an entire season of an MTV show called Damage Control. And that's kind of how we became best friends and how our friendship started.
So your whole friendship started with a New Yorker telling somebody else what to do. You realize that?
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, my goodness. And did you wear the hat to the audition, or did you take the advice?
I think I took the advice.
So he
took the advice. He got the job.
Awesome.
I got the job.
Very, very cool. So
that's how it all started.
That's how it started. So what inspired you guys to get from acting in the front to filmmaking in the back? Where did that happen?
You know, Jordan and I always loved Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, who always preached, they made their own movie. And I think both of us just kind of had that dream, the whole Ben Affleck, Matt Damon thing in our mind and we're both artists and we're both creative. So, I think being in front of the camera and the artists in us were just as excited equally about the people who were creating the TV shows and the movies. And And on our road trip out here, we started to plan the first indie movie that we ended up making. We started to spitball it in the car, and it was called Two Dudes and a Dream. And that was based off, who Jordan and I were. That's who we felt we were. We were just two guys with a dream.
Yeah, we drove across country together after that year of filming that show for MTV Damage Control. And yeah, it was pretty wild. We actually haven't gotten those tapes. We gotta get those tapes and watch them. But yeah, we talked about
cross country.
Oh, that's cool.
And we talk about making a movie called Two Dudes and a Dream, and it's crazy because we just put it out there, and then when we got here, I think what we start production on that within about a year and a half to 2 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
We just kind of got people excited and motivated, and we made a movie. And actually, that's where we first met Chris Livingston. He came to the premiere of Two Dudes and a Dream, and that was the first time we ever even met him.
Okay. Now, two of you guys were on the first season of The Hills, right?
Yeah.
Jordan and I were both on season 1 of The Hills.
Okay. Now, what was that like?
Yeah, that was a very interesting time of our life. We had just moved to LA. We had just arrived in town, and I guess basically kind of to back up, the key thing that happened to us is when Brian and I were living in New York, we actually I don't remember, we ended up going out one night and we met Lindsay Lohan and her group of friends. Now
let's just stop right there and pause for a second.
Yeah.
Tell us what that was like.
It was cool. This was the pre-corruption, before the spiral of Lindsay Lohan. This is like just after Parent Trap days. So this was the good Lindsay Lohan. And we met her friends, and we kept in touch throughout the year. And when it came time for us to move to LA, we had just kind of hit them up, reached out to them, and they were like, "Yeah, you can crash with us." So we ended up crashing with Lindsay's best friend in a pool house when we moved out here. But when we moved out here, Lindsay and Talon from Laguna Beach were kind of like dating. And so that's how we fell into that group, literally from day one.
We became friends with Talon, and then all the Laguna Beach kids were coming up to party. And we just found ourselves completely in that young Hollywood crowd. And then that's how we met Lauren and Heidi. And then that's kind of, Jordan and Heidi started dating. And then Lauren and Heidi were like, "Hey guys, we're about to do a spinoff of this show called Laguna Beach. We think you guys would be perfect." And that's how it kind of happened. It was just kind of like, I think we were in the right place at the right time. And it was crazy because we just went from filming an MTV show in New York, and now all of a sudden we're on this other MTV show. So it was kind of surreal.
Very cool. Very, very cool. And that's an interesting group. I've actually done a little work with some of that group of people. So what inspired you to want to get into acting in the first place? What makes you go, this is what I want to do, as opposed to, I don't know, be an accountant or work on Wall Street or that kind of stuff?
Jordan, you want to go on that?
I love how you guys defer to each other. You're like, you answer that one. I don't want to answer that one. You answer that one.
I know I tend to talk a lot, so I'm like, I have to police my gabbing. And let
Me too. I'm the same. So I just allow other people to go. So.
Okay, I'll go and then Jordan, you go. But basically, my first dream was I wanted to be an animator and live in Disney World. Pretty good plan for a 10-year-old, I feel like.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Because I always loved art and creativity. But then it was when I was 14 years old and I saw Ace Ventura. In my house, my mother was sick most of my life with a disease called scleroderma. And it's a very, it's a very sad thing. And so when you're living in a house with a sick person and then all of a sudden there's a funny movie that makes the entire household laugh and just feel better about life, and you forget about all the things, that escape with my family watching funny movies. And it was that movie in particular that I remembered. It was so therapeutic in the household. I went, that's what I want to do in my life. I want to make people laugh. I want to make movies. And I thought the whole thing was so kind of creative, not just, being Jim Carrey, but everything that goes into a movie. And so I think at age 14, that was the movie that I went, that's what I want to do with my life for me.
Okay. Well, that's good. So you knew at a young age, you really knew what you wanted to do. That's awesome.
I can just
Thanks,
say,
yeah.
I'm going to chime in and just say, you know, Brian's the kind of person that just goes after something, you know, if the possibility exists, he just, you know, he dives and, he puts his heart into everything he goes after. And, you know, knowing him, it's hard for me to imagine him being an accountant.
So what about the other two of you?
You gentlemen, yeah.
Well, I could have said surfer. I mean, maybe Brian wanted to be a surfer, or I don't know, a street performer.
Well, let me
in
tell
New
you
York?
something. If Brian wanted to be a surfer, he'd be out on the pro tour.
Well, I did play a surfer dude on another MTV show called Disaster Day, but that's another story.
Oh my God.
So you got to be one for a day. That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Jordan,
Jordan, Chris, when did you guys know you wanted to?
Yeah, you go for it, Jordan.
Let's see. I think it all started when I was around 8 years old. I not booked a role, but I was cast to play Mayor of the Munchkins in like a local college production that was going on in my town. And from that experience, the director of that play was the high school director, and they were very big in Eastern North Carolina. The performing arts was very big at that time. And from my experience with that, my mom actually started taking me down to Wilmington, North Carolina. And at that time, Screen Gems was kind of like the Hollywood of the East. And there were a lot of, I think they were doing Dawson's Creek. They were constantly shooting movies down there. So I started going down there probably when I was around 12 years old and just kind of being extras and being in the background of movies and TV shows. So I just saw what it was like as a kid. I was like, wow, this is awesome. You know, you guys just get to sit around on set and just bring whatever in your imagination to life and film it. So yeah, I mean, it started for me at a very early age too. And it was always juggling sports and the performing arts.
Okay. That's awesome. It's rare that you know at that age what you want to do. For a lot of people, it's like, well, I'm not really sure. And then they're 20 and then they're 25 and they're still trying to figure it out. So it's awesome that you guys really knew and had a direction.
For me, it was a little different. I mean, first of all, you know, we all just did a movie, you know, together, and I'm not really an actor. I did some acting in college. I took some courses and stuff, but I never really considered myself like that. My first love has been music, and I came from a very musical family. My father was president of Capitol Records, and he signed the Beatles and the Beach Boys and Frank Sinatra. So I had this backdrop of successful music family. And I started playing piano when I was 6 years old and ended up starting to write songs when I was about 17 years old. And ironically, my father ended up writing a book called Ronnie Finkelhoff Superstar, which got optioned to be made into a movie by Zanuck and Brown, who were big, producers back in the day. They did Jaws and the Sting, I think. And the book, looked like it was going to get turned into a film, and it was about a virtuoso on the guitar in high school. And so there were all these songs in the book, titles, and I started taking the titles from the book and starting to write songs. I'm thinking, well, if this thing ever got made into a movie, I'd potentially, get a song in a film, which would be great. But that sort of led me into going to NYU Film School, because it kind of caught my interest as far as the actual filmmaking. And I ended up taking, a whole different direction with life, which was making movies in addition to the music.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you brought up this new film, Be Like Trees. Let's talk about that. What is it? How is it different? Tell our listeners a little bit about that and how it's going to be seen as something different from what I understand.
Go for it, Chris. Go for it, baby.
Okay, let me just say this. I met Brian making this film Dumbbells. I actually met him as he was describing. We met the night that they premiered The Two Dudes in a Dream. It was at the ArcLight Theater in Los Angeles. We connected, but we never really, nothing really happened after that. And then another friend of ours, guy named Hoyt Richards, who was in a film I did called Hit and Runway, which came out back in 2001. He started working on this script called Dumbbells with Brian. And so they basically started talking to me and kind of taking my feedback on the script. And I kept meeting with them. And at some point they just asked me if I was interested in being involved and potentially directing it. And I said, yeah. And so we ended up making that project together. And so that was a while back. But then recently, Brian had been, talking about making a movie on an iPhone, which is, taking advantage of modern technology and trying to do something, that was not as expensive to make. And so we were kicking around ideas. And one day at lunch, Brian.
Well, can I butt in there?
Yeah, jump in, of course.
Before we even get to the lunch, I want to tell her the little tidbit. So what had really happened was, when you try and make a movie, you have to sometimes raise $500,000 is considered pennies to make a movie. And most of the movies we've made in the past we've raised budgets of, well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so in trying to get a movie off the ground for about $500,000 to $1 million for almost over a year, I realized one day on a conference call that it wasn't going to happen. The money just wasn't coming in, and I was so frustrated. And on the television screen, there just so happened to be a commercial for Steven Spielberg's documentary on HBO. And I said to the TV, I said, oh yeah, sure, Steven, you can make any movie you want. And then in my imagination, Steven spoke back to me, and the first thing my imagination said was, oh, stop complaining, you young punk. If I had the technology you guys had when I was your age, I would just make a movie using my iPhone and my Mac. And I just kind of had this moment where I went, oh. And I said, has anybody ever made a movie using just an iPhone? And then I Googled it, and I saw that there was a movie that won Sundance that was shot on an iPhone 4 called Tangerine. And that was the aha moment of, oh, my God, I think this has to happen now. And then I went to lunch and met with Chris. And now, Chris, go on. Sorry to interrupt.
It's all right. No, please jump in. So anyway,
I just love that Spielberg clip.
No, it's great. That's a great backdrop. So anyway, at lunch, Brian had told me a story, which I just thought was funny. He was walking, in the Grove, here. It's a big mall in Los Angeles. And, he had his headphones on and he was feeling really good. Things are going his way in life. And he just had one of those moments where you just feel like everything's going your way. And he's walking and just all of a sudden he starts noticing people looking at him. And he's thinking wow, they're feeling this good energy. They're feeling what I'm feeling. This is amazing. They're getting my confidence. And, and as he's looking at people, he notices that they're not looking at him with, smiles. They're starting to look at him with alarm and even, concern. And so he takes off his headphones and he hears this ding, 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 ding. And he was about to get run over by this trolley that was coming up from behind at the mall. And so I was like, Brian, that's totally delusional and it's hilarious. And that's where we should start a character. And, if we're going to do something, on an iPhone, it should be something really personal. And so I went home and I wrote up just a scene and sent it to him, just basically just describing what I just described to you. And he got so inspired, he literally wrote a screenplay in 2 days. And Brian is a comedic writer. He's like a nuclear generator of comedy, and he's really fast. And so, I was a little surprised at how quickly he sent it off, but it was good. And it was heartfelt and it was honest. And it was kind of one of the most honest things he'd written. And I just thought, or personal things he'd written. And I just thought, this is great. And so literally within a day, we were going to Sammy's camera, picking up equipment. And within a week, we started shooting. The beautiful thing about the film, Brian described his mom and how she had this terrible disease called scleroderma. The movie's essentially a love letter to art. His mom was an artist, and the whole film's about him trying to live up to the spirit of his mother. And, having gone through this terrible, illness with her and watching her pass away over the years. And it's a comedy, but it's really, it's embedded in this true story of how he wants to, live up to his mother's artistic spirit. So that spirit is that to keep fighting and to never give up, just to pinpoint that spirit, because she was basically given 3 to 5 years to live.
and she fought for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
So the idea being, so it's like the idea being if somebody can be, ill to where you're giving 5 years left to live, but still be smiling and enjoying life and fighting the good fight every day and tripling the time they give you. It's like, how can, those of us who are healthy and here on the planet, how can we get so down on ourselves? If you get a parking ticket, we all have bad days and it's easy to be like, screw it all. But then I just always think of my mother and that unrelenting spirit of like, just keep smiling and keep fighting the good fight. And that's kind of what we wanted to capture with the film, because, it can be so hard to pursue any sort of dream or entrepreneurial thing. And especially if you're in the arts, you can basically not make money at your passion for years before people might recognize. But you got to keep fighting and you can't give up, and you got to keep doing what fuels you in your soul. So that's kind of what Be Like Trees and even Be Like Trees, when you watch the film, that's what it's about.
Wow.
The trees will go through anything. They don't give up. They'll grow right through cement to seek the light. And, that's kind of the embodiment of an artist. And the film itself is sort of a living example of just, what it preaches. It's go after things and never give up. And if there's a will, there's a way.
And for any film people, the thing that really opened our minds up is, when you make a low budget movie, again, even if you have $500,000, that's peanuts in a low budget film world. And the problem with a lot of low budget movies is they look so low budget because all the money's going to locations and things that, the expensive add up. But we just kind of use the world as our set. And the beauty about filming on an iPhone is we filmed everywhere and anywhere. And nobody knows what you're doing, because having a smartphone out is nothing that would bring attention to yourself. And we just had our actors wirelessly mic'd. We had no crew, no nothing. So it was a way to shoot an entire film right out in the wide open with no one knowing what you're really doing.
That's pretty cool. So this truly really hasn't been done on this level before, has it?
I don't think so.
No.
So when does the movie come out? When can we expect to see it?
We're aiming for early next year.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't set ourselves the exact date yet, but we are aiming for probably early to spring of 2019.
Okay. And where will everyone be able to find it?
We'll know for sure. I mean, you'll be able to find it in all the usual digital places. So your iTunes, your Google Movies, cable outlets, but we'll know specifically very soon. And we have a website, beliketrees.com. And you can also follow Be Like Trees on Instagram and Twitter. But we'll be putting out the specific places people can see the movie, but it'll be all the usual places digitally.
Okay. Awesome. And how can our listeners reach you if they want to reach out to you with questions or comments or autographs or what have you?
We're all on social media. Mine personally, my Instagram and my Twitter is just my name, all one word, Brian, Brian, last name Drolet, Drolet, at Brian Drolet. And I'm on Instagram as well. It's Chris Liv 13, which is capital CHRIS, capital LIV 13. And I also have a website which people can check out, and there's a way for them to connect through that, and that's chrislivingstonproductions.com. There's also the website Be Like Trees, which I'm sure we can have a connection as well.
Awesome.
Nice. And Jordan, mine is at Jordan Eubanks, and that's EUBANKS 23, and that's at Instagram, Twitter, and all those as well.
Wonderful. And do you have any last words for our listeners or any words of advice, since you guys have made it big, as we say?
Well, I would tell people to check out. Jordan and I are actually painters, and we started a website that's a selection of both of our artwork. And that website, if people want to check it out, is canvas EP054assassins.com. And, on there you can purchase prints or originals, and just, we both love to paint, have been painting since childhood. So we decided to launch a website, with both of our portfolios. So we'd love for you to check that out as well.
Awesome.
I think bottom line is anybody out there that wants to make something, you can do it now. There's a way to do it. And, we made this film for literally no money. So, with the technology that exists today, if you've got, if you want to write something that is personal and, tells a story that you want to tell, there's definitely a way to get, something made and not have to go through Hollywood to go through a huge budget to try to make that happen.
That's awesome. So there's hope out there for those that are not in the Hollywood sector that want to create something and get it out there. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Go make your film or your creative project. You can do it.
Well, thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I appreciate it. We're going to put all your contact information up on the main site. And then when we thread it through, all of our listeners can actually find you directly off that page. And we'll send you and your PR team a copy of that.
I'm going to add one more thing. The film, I play myself and I play a songwriter. And I'm going to be putting out an album called 30 Years Unplugged, Chris Livingston, 30 Years Unplugged. And the first single will be available very shortly. So they can probably find that on iTunes. So I just want to show that as well.
Perfect. We'll put that up there as well for you.
Okay, great.
Awesome. Well, you've been listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes, the Addictions Coach in the Addictions Academy, and my guest today. Please check out their information on this site and look for their film, Be Like Trees. Talk to you soon. Hey, everyone. Thanks again for listening. I really hope you enjoyed the show today. Head on over to iTunes and Apple Podcasts and leave a comment or review of what you think. Or contact us at 1-800-706-0318. If you want to be on our show, feel free to email or call. And if you have a topic, feel free to email or call as well.
Thanks for listening to Unpause Your Life. For show notes and more, head on over to unpauseyourlife.com.
Big shout out to recoveryinnovators.com for help producing this show. Thank you, guys.
I took a walk down the long road where they said that I shouldn't go. On my way found a reason to wake up another day. But they needed to show you all the things that you won't do. Find faith or religion, but nothing to show for it. No need to escape in love with my pain. I may be awake, but I'm alive, still alive, and I won't be bound by your mistake. No, I won't be your enemy, trapped at the gate. Bring me to life, put me to death. Just give me something that's just not so hard to believe. To believe. To believe. I took a walk down the dark road where they said that I shouldn't go. I knew the dangers of flying. Now I'm so far from solid ground. But they needed to show you all the things that you won't do. Find faith or religion, but nothing to show for it. No need to escape in love everything that